Hi everyone, welcome back to Feeding Raven Doodles, a pet parent's guide to nutrition. Today's topic is fresh diets. Now, fresh pet food goes by many names. You can see it as gently cooked, human grade, whole food, all natural, preservative-free, etc., etc. So the term fresh isn't really well defined, but it typically includes most non-traditional, non-kibble, non-canned diets. A lot of people also refer to raw diets as fresh diets, but we will not be talking about raw today. In this video, we're only covering the cooked fresh diets. If you want to learn more about raw, you can check out my video, Raw Diets. So the term fresh is generally used to indicate that the diet may be fresher or more appealing than your traditional diets. And this is definitely the selling point of these diets. And for many pet owners, fresh is a kind of compromise between kibble and raw. So it's more appealing, it's more aesthetic than kibble, but it is safer than raw. It is also safer than homemade, and it's more convenient as well. So fresh diets come in many different forms. Some diets look like cooked, chopped, and mixed up human food where you can see most of the ingredients. Some come as puffy, pink, kind of kibble-looking diets where they have these dried veggie bits in them, while others look like dried beef jerky, and still others look like freeze-dried diets, and there's several others as well. So today we're going to be talking about the potential benefits and drawbacks of using fresh diets, as well as some of the different claims and marketing tactics that are used by fresh pet food companies. So one of the potential benefits to feeding a fresh diet is the calorie density. This can also be a drawback, but we'll talk about it in a positive light. Fresh diets have a low water content, which means that by volume, they have less calories, just because there is more water proportionally. And so if you have a cup of fresh food and a cup of kibble, the kibble is going to have more calories than the fresh food. And so this can mean that pets have to eat less of the diet in order to feel more full. And so this can help facilitate weight management in our pets that may be prone to obesity or weight gain. However, it is important to note that fresh diets are not weight loss diets. They are not formulated for weight loss. And so just like with any diet that is formulated for maintenance, if weight is lost too quickly on a fresh diet, it can lead to nutrient deficiencies in that pet. So this is something that's very important to keep in mind. If you do have an overweight pet that does need to lose some weight, maybe speaking to your veterinarian is definitely the way to go, rather than switching to a diet like a fresh diet, and that can potentially cause some problems for your pet aside from the obesity. Another benefit to feeding fresh can be the palatability and the texture of the diets. So picky pets, or pets that love table scraps or don't want to eat anything that's different than what their human has on their plate, may benefit from a fresh diet, just because they may have a more desirable aroma and texture and taste than our traditional diets. That texture, soft and mushy, may also benefit pets who are missing teeth and find it hard to chew as well. The biggest drawback to feeding fresh is definitely going to be the cost. One of the reasons for the high cost of fresh diets is the ingredients. So the human grade, the exotic, and the non-traditional ingredients that are often found in these diets definitely drive up the price of sourcing these ingredients for the manufacturer, as well as the price on the back end for the consumer. Another reason that these diets are so expensive is because they are heavier, and so storage and shipment cost more. And their need for cold storage for many of these diets, like refrigeration and freezing, can also complicate the packaging. So the packaging is more complex and it's more specialized, so it's more expensive. The transport of these diets, like I said, if they need to be shipped on refrigerated trucks, and the shelf life of these diets and the storage of them in pet stores or supermarkets, what have you, these are all going to add to the increased overall price of that diet. Once again, the storage of the fresh diets can be a definite drawback. So they're going to have a reduced shelf life potentially due to the omission of traditional preservatives, and those diets that do omit the traditional preservatives are going to likely require cold storage, so freezing or refrigeration. And so this storage can just really complicate how much family can keep of this diet at once. So you may have to buy this diet more frequently and not be able to keep as much in the home. It can also complicate travel with your pets. Let's say you're going on a road trip with your 2 dogs and you need somewhere to store that food. Well, it can be very difficult if you feed your pets a fresh diet. Fresh diets, as I mentioned previously, have a very high water content, which contributes to their low calorie density. So your pet is going to need to eat more of this fresh diet in order to get a sufficient number of kilocalories out of their meal. And an increased volume fed means that there's an increased cost to each meal. So a pet that may only need 1 cup of kibble per day may need 2 or 3 or 4 cups of fresh food per day. And that fresh food is already more expensive per unit than the kibble is, and then you double or triple the number of cups per meal, and that can truly really add up to a very high price for your pet to eat this on a consistent basis. Unfortunately, most fresh pet food companies do not employ qualified nutritionists, own their own facilities, conduct feeding trials, or do scientific research on their products. Choosing a pet food manufacturer that does these things is extremely important to ensuring the safety and the quality of the diet that you're buying. And to learn a lot more about this, you can check out my video, How to Pick a Pet Food Part 1. One of the potential claims that may be made about fresh diets is that they're safer. Now, safer than what, you ask? Yes, they are generally safer than raw diets, just simply due to the fact that they are cooked. However, they're not cooked at as high temperatures as our kibble and our canned food is cooked at. Our kibble and our canned food is cooked at a very high temperature so as to kill all of the microbial life that may be present in the raw ingredients. So this is one of the definite benefits to feeding kibble or canned food, as long as you store it properly. But this is not necessarily a benefit to feeding fresh, because they are just simply not cooked at an as high temperature. So they are not as safe, I guess, as canned or kibble diets. Additionally, there is the potential for improper storage. So like I mentioned previously, they do have a bit more complicated storage than our traditional diets. And so improper storage, freezing and thawing and then freezing again of these diets, or leaving them out of the refrigerator for a prolonged period of time, or leaving them in the refrigerator for too long, and can all lead to spoilage of these diets. And so that can play a role in the safety of these diets as well. So the claim that fresh diets are safe, I guess, is very subjective, and it's essentially not the most accurate statement. Another claim that is made about fresh diets is that they're more natural. Well, natural is a very widely used, positive sounding term, but all it really means is that the diet is made from plant, animal, or mineral sources. That's it. So the definition of natural includes many, many more ingredients than it excludes, and so there's no evidence showing that natural diets are safer or healthier than our traditional diets. And if we're talking about a natural lifestyle, saying that, fresh pet foods mimic a more natural eating style or something like that, that's kind of irrelevant because our pets are domesticated. And if they were living their natural lives, they wouldn't be living in our homes, sharing our beds, eating out of a dish in our kitchens, and moreover, they definitely wouldn't be eating a specially formulated, species-specific, complete and balanced diet. So the more natural claim is not really relevant. Another claim about fresh diets is that they're less processed. But processing is any action that changes an ingredient from its 100% raw and whole state. So cooking, chopping, mixing, those are all processing, all considered processing. And so really, all food is processed unless it's eaten in its whole and raw form. So the chicken that you find in the grocery store for humans is processed. The chicken that is in a pet food is processed because we're not going out and picking up a live chicken and eating it. So essentially, all pet food is processed. Now, the stigma around processed foods comes from the assumption that human foods like cookies and candy and chips are all bad for us because they're processed. But in reality, these foods are not bad for us because they're processed. They're bad because they're full of fats and sugars, and people don't limit their intake of these foods. In reality, these foods can be perfectly fine if they're eaten in moderation. Commercial pet foods should never ever be equated to candy or chips or cookies because they are just not equivalent, unless you're comparing pet treats to human treats. But kibble is not equivalent to cookies. It is simply a nonsensical comparison because our pet foods are formulated to be complete and balanced for our pets. Cookies, chips, candy, donuts, these are not complete and balanced. So this is simply an erroneous assumption. And backing up, fresh diets may seem less processed and better because we can see the ingredients, we can visualize the ingredients, the bits of rice, the bits of meat, the bits of vegetables that are in that diet. But just because kibbled and canned food appears more homogeneous, meaning it appears basically the same, is simply because the grinding and the mixing, they are ground and mixed so well that they just appear, every piece of it appears the same. This does not mean that kibble and canned diets are inferior to fresh diets. And if you want to learn more about kibble, you can check out my video, Kibble. Another claim is that fresh diets are more digestible. Digestibility is simply the body's ability to break down ingredients and absorb their nutrients. Poor digestibility means that less is absorbed and therefore more is wasted. But decreased digestibility doesn't mean that a diet is inferior. Some diets may intentionally have lower digestibility, such as weight loss diets that are formulated with high fiber to encourage intake and wastage of most of the fiber in that diet so that the pet still gets the nutrients it needs while getting the volume it wants. Now, there's currently only one study. There may actually be a second, more recent study out there as of December 2021, comparing kibbled diets and fresh diets in their digestibility. However, this study actually found that the average digestibility between kibble and fresh is highly comparable, aka they're basically the same, and there's no significant difference in the digestibility. There are no studies comparing nutritionally identical kibbled and fresh diets. And there are no studies done in cats. So there's definitely several limitations to the claim that fresh diets are more digestible than traditional diets. And finally, another claim about fresh diets is that they're better for the immune system. This claim is based on a research poster, not a full study, that was presented at the American Association of Veterinary Nutrition Conference in 2014. This poster basically outlined a short study that was done on a small group of privately owned dogs fed a fresh diet for 6 months. And what they did was they measured blood parameters, so red blood cells, white blood cells, and proteins, and a couple of other chemistry values of these dogs' blood. The conclusions that were drawn in this study do not correlate to the claim that fresh diets support the immune system. Blood cell parameters are not an accurate representation of immune function unless you're talking about increased white blood cell counts, which can indicate inflammation and the body's ability to fight off an infection or something else that's going on. But you can't really say that a very small increase in red blood cell numbers or a very small increase of white blood cell numbers correlates to immune function at all. So this claim is not true at all. Sadly, much of the marketing done by fresh pet food companies is focused on bringing other diets and other pet food companies down. If the food was so great, then the evidence would speak for itself, but unfortunately at this point it doesn't. Canned and kibbled pet foods are an excellent choice for many, many pets worldwide. But fresh pet food campaigns may cause pet owners to question the way that they feed their animals or feel guilty for feeding a certain type of diet. Kibble and canned food are not inferior to fresh diets, and so it's very important to keep this in mind when you see marketing that is designed to cause guilt or cause you to question your feeding practices. If you are concerned that you're feeding something that's inappropriate, you should definitely speak to your pet's usual veterinarian. Another aspect of fresh pet food marketing is the research, or rather the representation of the research, which can be very misleading. Very few fresh pet food companies do perform scientific research. Currently, only 2 companies do their own research, and there are only 3 available studies at the moment. Now, the very limited available data is used as a marketing tool, and overblown conclusions do not match up with the data that is described. And so, like we mentioned previously, the digestibility, the immune system, these studies just simply don't match up with the claims that are made outside of the conclusions of the study. So the misleading research is definitely a huge factor in fresh pet food marketing, and it can truly sway people into believing that the research really does say these things until you find the paper and read the paper and read the discussion and actually read the conclusion and understand that the claims made outside the paper do not match what the paper says. Another marketing tool used by fresh pet food companies is the claim that they are preservative-free. Preservatives simply help to prevent spoilage and extend the shelf life of any food so that they can be packaged, shipped, and stored safely. All pet foods have preservatives in them, whether they're natural or artificial. Fresh pet food companies really mean that their diet is free from artificial preservatives. But all preservatives that are present in pet foods must be defined by AAFCO and determined to be safe in the amounts that they are found in pet foods by the FDA. So, all preservatives that are in pet foods are safe, no matter if they're artificial or natural. There is also no evidence showing that preservative-free pet food is safer or healthier than traditional pet food. And lastly, the label terminology found on fresh pet diets is a very big aspect of their marketing. The words natural, organic, non-GMO, human grade, etc., these buzzwords are all intended to make the product more appealing to the pet owner. All of these terms that are used for marketing tell us nothing about the quality or the safety of the diet found in the package. You can check out my video, Pet Food Marketing, for much more information on all of these terms. In summary, there is truly no one-size-fits-all diet or diet type. Every pet, every home, every situation, every owner is unique. There are so many factors that go into choosing a pet food, and there are so many options available on the market. And so choosing a pet food systematically and intelligently is really going to help you narrow down all of your options and choose the food that's right for you and right for your pet. You can check out my videos, How to Pick a Pet Food Part 1 and Part 2, to learn all about choosing the right diet. Thank you so much for watching this video on fresh diets. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, or share this video with your friends if you enjoyed it. And leave a comment down below if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. Don't forget to visit feedingravendoodles.com, where I give you access to all of my articles, videos, and resources all in one place. Next time, we're going to continue our exotic pet nutrition series, and we're going to be talking about birds. Say goodbye, Raven.